Before, my identity was a drug addict, you know, a 3-time felon, deadbeat dad, terrible son, terrible friend, fired from all these different jobs because of my drug use. And that was my identity, you know. It was part of the reason why I was hopeless, is because there was no way for me to define myself in any kind of positive way. Well, starting from middle school, that's when I first started experimenting with drugs and alcohol. Eventually, I did find harder drugs. The only time I wasn't high is when I was in jail. It's just really the way it went. I got clean after that 3 years. I went into secular recovery, and I had some success with it. I think I almost made it to 2 years of sobriety. I relapsed around COVID. I really thought that at the time the best thing for everybody, including myself, was to take my own life, because I figured that that was the only way that I could stop doing that cycle of just getting back into families' lives, my daughter's life, and then just destructing. And it was the lowest part of my life. I mean, I was dead, you know. I just, like, my heart was beating. But I just completely I'd given up. I was at the warming center here in town. It was nighttime. It was like the room kind of closed in on me. This is sort of like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. I knew I was in the presence of God. I was just overwhelmed with like a flood of emotions immediately. A little bit of fear and a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. So I called out to God, and I said I was sorry. You know, I'm crying now, but I've never cried so hard in my whole life. I felt true forgiveness and love, and there was a peace. It was amazing to think like that God really is real. Like, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And I've had people sowing into me and planting seeds about Jesus my whole life. I grew up with parents who were involved in the church. My parents are mature and faithful believers. I still hadn't reached out to my parents. I hadn't talked to them for a few years at that point. I had my baptism scheduled at that point, and I invited them to come. It was just another experience of just complete forgiveness. My parents have never brought any of my sins against them. Like, they've never brought it up. The morning of, I was in the lobby, and then I just saw my mom. You know, she was kind of just looking around, and it had been, man, it had been so long. I said to my dad when I hugged him, I said, Dad, you know, I'm so sorry. And he said, for what? This is one of the happiest days of our lives. My dad's funny like that, you know.
We love you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we never stopped loving you. We couldn't understand maybe a lot of things, but we knew who was in charge and who could change things, and we were handcuffed, but the Lord Jesus is not. So
who could go through anything like this without the Lord? It's beyond comprehension.
My identity became not what I've done, but what Jesus has done for me, and that was huge. I mean, it's something I remind myself of sometimes, like when I start to think about the past or start to think about myself. But then I remember that my identity is what Jesus has done for me. And man, that's just huge. It's like, I'm so thankful for that, right?